Hey, and welcome to another podcast, Valley Sunday. I am one of your hosts, Chris Paco.
And I'm your other host, Jeff Cameron.
How's it going, Jeff?
It's pretty decent. How about you?
Just going well. It's getting nicer out. I feel like you can get outside with the top down if you're lucky enough to have your own monkey mobile, which works very well, actually. A good segue on my part. Because today we have Monkees number 53, Monkees Race Again, a.k.a. Leave the Driving to Us.
The episode 53 makes me think, and the title of the episode, is this like a Herbie reference?
Could be. That's a good question.
Wait. Is Herbie a thing yet?
I believe Herbie's. I think Herbie's like an early 60s situation.
Well, we'll get the boys down in the Podcast Valley lab investigating that.
Yeah. Oh, actually, maybe not. Sorry, they were very quick on that. They got back to me, and apparently the movie came out in 1968. So perhaps.
Oh, it was like hot shit.
Actually, I'm reading here, Herbie was based on Monkees Race Again. That was the whole genesis of Herbie, was Monkees Race Again. So we're directed here by Mr. James Frawley again, main man like James. Written by Dave Evans, Elias Davis, and David Pollock. Originally aired February 12th, 1968. So we open up on a glorious shot of the Monkey Mobile, which I always thought we saw the Monkey Mobile more, I gotta say. Because we're coming to the end of season 2, and when you see the Monkey Mobile, it's still an event.
Mm-hmm. It's true, yeah. It feels like you hardly ever see it.
Yeah, it's weird. And so 3 of the boys are working on it, Mike, Davy, and Peter. Well, Mike is underneath it, and Peter's handing Mike tools, and Davy's just like standing on the driver's seat watching them. And with Mike going underneath the car, I wouldn't want someone standing in the car or even sitting in it. I want as less weight as possible.
Not even little Davy?
Not even little Davy. I wouldn't even want you to put your can of Coke on it. I'd be like, man, I'm underneath this thing.
Yeah, for real.
Mind you, I don't work underneath cars very often, so maybe it's very safe. I don't know. So the big, huge blower thing that's on the hood of the car, to reiterate how I don't know much about cars, it's taken off and it's sitting beside the car, but it's still an awesome looking shot of the Monkey Mobile, even without that enormous blower thing.
Yeah, and it's another sort of rare shot of them, like their garage outside.
Yeah, true enough.
I mean, quote unquote, outside.
Yeah. So Mike asks Peter to give him a push under the car, and then Peter nudges him with his foot, and Mike zooms right underneath the car and out the back. And then it reverses, and the film goes backwards, and he goes zooming back under the car and ends up where he was. Still a classic Frawley move. Like, a
little bit.
From the very... This episode actually has a few little throwbacks to the early Monkees episodes.
It's true, yeah. The fast motion stuff really feels very Monkees.
Yeah, and the backwards footage as well, backwards film. So the red phone rings, and Peter hands it to Davy and goes back to messing around with the car. And Davy talks for a little bit, and then he hangs up, and he says it was T.N. Crumpets, a friend of his grandfather's. And I wonder if it was the same grandfather that tried to ruin Davy's life by taking him back to England in season 1, if he's still trying to get Davy away from the band.
Maybe. Might be on the other side of his family.
Maybe. No grandparents like what Davy's doing with his life.
Man, oh man.
So he says that Crumpets has been winning all of the auto racing awards, and he needs their help. And then Peter asks,
why call on us, man? We haven't won an award in years.
So Mike says that they can help him, and he asks for the phone, and then Peter just puts the phone on the floor. Then Mike tells Davy to start the engine, and suddenly the phone revs up and it drives out the door and closes the door behind it. It's a very polite phone.
Pretty slick. And if you had a hilarious phone hijinks on your Monkees bingo card, you're in luck before the intro even.
Definitely. Did you get an intro time?
Oh, yeah. It's about $1.17 we hit the intro. Couple camera trick sight gags, establish the stakes. Davy just kind of does a little line reading. I don't know. I don't want to say they're phoning it in, but it's coming from the last episode to this episode. It's See, it feels a little like motions are being gone through. I mean,
100%.
Mickey doesn't even show up yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I would say they're literally phoning it in because they have that phone gag at the very beginning. The phone is the biggest gag of the whole intro. So anyway, we'll go to the intro. And I got to say, I was expecting like some sort of race-themed theme coming back from the credits because that's what they've been doing. But this was just like, we've heard this one before.
Race theme. How would you do this?
I don't know. It depends. Like I was trying to think like, ooh, how are they going to do this one? And maybe they had the same thing. We're like, what the hell's a race theme? Like there's like the trumpet, like, you know, but that's not for car racing. So.
Yeah. When I don't know if you remember, but when my kids were little, they used to call the Star Spangled Banner the NASCAR song. That's
funny.
That's the only time they'd hear it.
And it's essentially true, though. It might as well be. So we show up at TN Crumpet's car place, and the boys are freaking out about all the cool cars and stuff. And in all honesty, it really just looks like a bunch of leftover stuff from a laboratory set. Like,
and like they don't really establish where they are. They're like, so during the commercial, the boys drove the Monkey Mobile to Europe.
Yeah, true enough. There's a lot of weird things like that in this episode as well. Again, like the phone it in. It should be called the Monkees Phone It In. That's what this episode should be called. It already has an AKA, so there's a new AKA, the Monkees Phone It In. And so a butler comes out and scares them. Classic monkey scare. And this is Maurice Dallimore. And he introduces TN Crumpets, played by William Glover. And he and Davy start chatting, and he says,
"Yes, well, you see, I fear some absolute rotter is sabotaging my vehicle."
Yes, but are you having some trouble with your car?
So Peter and Mike check out the car, and they rip off the blower thing off that car as well, and it explodes. And Peter says that was the work of saboteurs. And then finally Mickey decides to show up. I don't know how he found them. He just like comes walking in the door nonchalant, like he's been there the whole time. And he says that his mechanic does that all the time. And Crumpets goes,
"Certainly no improvement."
Crumpets, we'll get to it.
He's had it already. He's just another one, fucking grown up, just fed, like almost immediately fed up with the Monkees. Their existence.
100%. But you know what? I've got to be with Crumpets on this, but also not with Crumpets on this. Because why talk to Davy's grandfather and say, hey, I'm being sabotaged and my pit crew's missing. And he's like, oh, my son's a musician. Why don't you call him and his friends to come fix your award-winning race car?
They're wildly underqualified.
Wildly. It's like if you said, hey, TN Crumpets, we need somebody to write a song for us. Can you help us out? It's the same level there.
Goddamn.
So anyway, so we cut to a sign that says Baron von Klutz, maker of the Klutzmobile. And inside it's two, like, let's face it, two Nazis. And they're working on a car with what looks like an iron cross on it. Okay.
This is something.
Goodness.
We're not too far removed from, the Blitz and stuff.
Exactly.
We got this Britain versus Germany thing going on.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And so this is the Baron, played by David Hurst, and Wolfgang, played by Stubby K. Great name.
Man, oh man.
That looks like it's his given name. So they can't get the car to run, and the Baron asks what the problem is. And he says,
Same old problem. What's that? The car stinks. Oh.
And so the Baron walks away. And just for say, this car does not stink. This is like an amazing automobile. But,
yeah.
So the Baron walks away, and he calls for a periscope, and it comes down from the ceiling. And he looks into it, and he sees a boat getting blown up, and he starts laughing, and he says,
Memories. Even the periscope can't forget.
Oh
man.
Man.
So he looks back into it, and now he sees the Monkees working on the car. And Peter's sawing the engine, Mike seems to be scrubbing the car, but he's not touching it with the brush or the sponge. Davy's filing wood, and Mickey's nailing a nail into like the body of the car.
Ah.
So Baron says they have very strange techniques and tells Wolfgang to look, but then he says he can't. And the Baron asks why, and he says,
You're standing on my foot.
classic. And so the Baron moves and Wolfgang looks through it, and he says there must be a trick because who would be so stupid to treat a machine this way? And then we see through the periscope, and then all four boys take a bow. They're that stupid. The Baron sends the periscope up to the ceiling, and he slams his fingers in the handles. And he says they must think up a plan. So we cut to Peter, Davy, and Mike looking at a bunch of wires on the engine, and then Peter slaps it with another wire for some reason. And Crumpet asks if it's a big problem. And Mickey, he's like pulling a tiger's tail out of the gas tank. And then all of a sudden the tail pulls right out and apparently like rips off the tiger that's in the tank. But then the tiger yelps like a dog. So I don't know what's going on.
Because like an Esso slogan is put a tiger in your tank.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And did you know Esso is short for Standard Oil?
No.
Yeah.
Weird.
You're learning a lot today, Paco.
I truly am. This is eye-opening. So the Baron and Wolfgang come marching in, like literally marching. And the Baron gives a bunch of stupid orders and like up, down, left, right, all this stupid crap that Wolfgang does. And then he ends up just slapping Wolfgang's hands. And Mike tells the boys not to let on that anything's wrong with the car. So Baron tells Wolfgang that he's got to go over there, and Wolfgang asks what he's waiting for. And then he says,
You're standing on my foot.
we'll give you the first one, but, you know, what's going on?
Are they going to do a third one? It's going to be a rule of 3 thing?
I believe so. I believe
boy.
not to, spoiler alert, but
It's Chekhov's foot standing.
yeah, you might have the whole bingo card with that one with this episode. So the Baron walks over to Crumpets, and he says that he sees he's having trouble with his car, and Crumpets says that he sees that the Baron is having trouble with his accent. And Mike says there's nothing wrong with the car, and Baron asks then why is the engine blown up to smithereens? And Mike says, well, that's what makes it faster, and he starts to show him why. And then they start to like mess with the car, and Crumpets is like visibly like, please stop, just please stop. Again, why'd you bring them in? Like he's freaking out. These guys don't know what they're doing with his car, but he did I assume Davy's grandfather rused Crumpets and told him that no, they can do anything. Don't worry about it.
He hates that Crumpets guy, for real.
I guess so, man. Out of all the people he has in his auto racing circle, he decided to go with the word of these musicians from one of their grandfathers. Like, come on. So Mickey says that the car's in perfect tune, and he and Baron get into this yes it is, no it isn't back and forth for way too long. And then Mickey hits the Baron on his helmet with a tuning fork. And he says, B flat. The Baron laughs and says that he'll see them on the race tomorrow and tells Wolfgang to go. And he says he can't. Why?
You're standing on my foot.
Oh.
Two in the same scene. Like, didn't even wait a little bit. It's just,
Oh, man.
God damn. Was this super hilarious? Like, when they did this and kept doing it through the episode, were people like losing their minds with hilarity? Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's on first for the first time? And it's like,
Now it's who's on foot.
yeah, who's on foot? Yeah, Jesus. So Baron gets off his foot and then they march out of there. And Peter says, well, we fooled them. And Mike says, there's only one problem. And Davy says,
How can they get the engine back together?
I was just going to say that. That's the problem.
and then they share this like little like moment, like they're actually having a moment together.
brief moment of fun.
Yeah. And then Crumpets does not look happy. And I don't blame him. He makes terrible life decisions.
Yep.
So Mickey is like thumping a funnel on the engine a bunch of times and tells Davy to hit it, and he does. And the car runs for a second and then dies. And everyone's bummed, and Mickey says, darn, and he hits the car with his fist, and then it starts to run. And Crumpet says it's running better than it ever has. And they need
I think that was a demonstration of Mickey's innate Fonzie powers.
right there, yes. Very true.
They should have picked Mickey, man.
It would have been so weird, dude. Like, I couldn't even imagine seeing like cool Mickey. Like Mickey's cool 60s cool. I don't know if Mickey's cool 50s cool.
Yeah, Fonzie was like ostensibly like maybe a older teenager or a young 20s, and like I guess Mickey was like 30-ish. No, I don't know.
Probably around.
Might not have worked.
Either way.
Then maybe Mickey would have been on Barry. Who knows?
Yeah, I also feel that like Henry Winkler didn't look like a spring chicken when he was Fonzie either.
That's a fair point. And already half bald Ron Howard.
Yeah, exactly. My brother needs a job. Can we help him out? No. Well, I guess I got to direct something. Imagine he became a director just so Clint could get work.
Oh, my God.
So anyway, Crumpet says they need to celebrate, and he summons the butler to go get some tea. And Davy can't hear, and he says,
What's that?
It's a drink.
No, I didn't mean forget it.
he does it so well that you almost feel like Davy was over. I feel like all of them were over this episode the whole time.
Yeah, like compare it to like the previous episode, which was done, at the start of the year, before the tour, before the albums, before Headquarters came out, before they finished working on Pac and J. Like, to do all that and then come back to the show.
Yeah.
Must have been like going back to high school after the prom. And this again is like, no, we're kind of over this part.
Yeah, man. So back at the Nazi garage, Baron says that they have to kidnap Crumpets and the Monkees so there won't be anyone to drive the car. That's it. That's the whole scene. Go back to Crumpets and everyone's drinking tea. And Crumpets asks Peter if he'd like another spot of tea. And Peter says, that's okay. I have a few spots already on his shirt. And the only one who seems to be trying to have some fun is Peter. That's how it seemed to me anyway.
Fair enough. He's probably baked.
Yeah, probably. So the butler starts to spray mist all over them. And Mickey asks what it is. And Crumpet says that it's there for atmosphere. It's London mist. And like actual London mist. And Davy says that it smells more like Liverpool to him.
Notice Davy put a little hint of Liverpudlian on his accent.
Yes.
He mentioned Liverpool there.
Yeah.
Smells like Liverpool to me.
Suddenly, the Baron and Wolfgang are there wearing gas masks, and they start to spray knockout gas into the room. And so Crumpet says that it's starting to smell like Manchester, and Mike says that that's LA smog. Then they all start to cough, and no one notices the two dudes in gas masks spraying shit all over them, like right beside them. They're so into this tea and the London mist. And then they all pass out. So the Baron and Wolfgang try to talk to each other, but they can't hear anything, so they take their masks off. And Wolfgang says that he was saying he couldn't breathe with the mask on, which is very topical. A lot of people bitching about that in recent years. I thought they were going to knock themselves out. I thought they were going to take the masks off too early, and then they were also going to pass out. But they didn't. They somehow, it already dissipated by the time they took their masks off. And so they grab Crumpets and Mickey, and they drag them out the door. Although Mickey and Crumpets' legs are walking with them, too. They're not really being dragged. They're just kind of helping them walk. So back at the Nazi garage, Crumpets and Mickey are tied to chairs, and Baron is asking if they know why they're there. And Mickey says something that I couldn't hear it. I didn't know what he said.
Oh.
I don't know why. It just didn't come through for me. I think it was a joke.
I suppose you're wondering why we brought you here.
Let's see. How about you're gonna award me the Blue Max?
And the Baron lays out his plans to Crumpets and Mickey for some reason. And he says that if he wins the race, the Klutzmobile will become the most famous car in the world. And then it really sounds like they both say Sieg Heil. Like they put the hands up and everything. It's
Man.
I don't know. Crumpets tells Baron that Mickey isn't a mechanic.
Now that's enough out of you, Gappy.
Well, I haven't said anything else.
And so Baron then tells Wolfgang to gag Crumpets.
There's enough gags in this show already.
You got that right, Crumpets.
Boy.
And at least the Baron wasn't standing on Wolfgang's foot when he told him to gag Crumpets, which I totally thought he was going to do. So Mickey tells Baron that there's nothing he can do to him that will make him cooperate. And Baron asks, what about physical torture? And Mickey says, you got yourself a mechanic. But really, this is the best bet for Crumpets, because Mickey's just going to ruin Baron's car because he has no idea what he's doing. So Crumpets should be like, yeah, he's the best mechanic in the world. You want him. And so back at Crumpets, The boys are just waking up, and the butler apologizes and says that he made the tea same as always. He thinks that's the tea that knocked him out. But Mike says that they were doped. Then he realizes that Mickey and Crumpets are missing.
They're gone.
Ooh.
So, back at the Nazi garage, Mickey's sitting in the Baron's car, and Baron says that he'll be able to analyze it better if he hears it, and he tells him to turn it on. And so Mickey turns on the radio, and Baron says that there isn't a radio or a tape deck or a live band in the car, but the music is driving him crazy. So Mickey changes it to like a classical kind of station, and Wolfgang says that this isn't bad, and Baron says, well, for the radio it isn't bad, but for a car it stinks. Like, I don't know. Does that mean like the car should be playing? I
don't know.
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
Slogging through this. So Wolfgang calls Baron over to the periscope, and he sees that the boys are walking out of Crumpets and heading right towards them. He goes over to Mickey, who's now tied up with a gag in his mouth. So there must have been a time jump between him bitching about the radio and getting to the periscope, because suddenly Mickey's out of the car into a chair tied up with a gag in his mouth.
Why? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. And so he asks Mickey if he promises not to cry out if he takes the gag off, and Mickey nods. He takes the gag off, and Mickey starts screaming, and the Baron asks why would he do that? He trusted him.
When the chips are down, you can't trust anybody these days.
So the boys walk into the Nazi garage, and Baron tells Wolfgang to get rid of them. And Peter finds Mickey's tuning fork on the ground, and Wolfgang says no one is allowed in there unless they're part of the Klutzmobile gang. And Peter says, well, this is Mickey's tuning fork, and he taps it on his head, and he recognizes it as B flat. But Wolfgang says it's his tuning fork and that it's an A. Then Mike hits himself on the head with the fork. He says B flat. Wolfgang says they're all wrong. But then Davy bangs it on his head, and he said Wolfgang is right. It's an A. Then Mike protests, and Davy says he was joking. It's obviously a B flat, because it says so right on the fork. And Wolfgang says that that's the name of the manufacturer, which is pretty funny.
That is sort of cute.
That's a good one. That's something you'd actually try to do in that situation. Well, no. It's something a teenager would try to throw at you. Some nonsense. So Peter hits Wolfgang in the head, and then Wolfgang harmonizes with the fork, and Peter says,
your pitch is lousy, but you have a pretty good voice. If we don't find Mickey, would you like to join a group?
Oh, man.
Peter, always forward thinking. And Wolfgang considers it before snapping into asshole mode, and he tells him to go. And Mike says he knows that Mickey and Crumpets are here, and Davy says that he's going in and nothing can stop him. And then Wolfgang pulls out a gun.
Yay.
And Davy has a change of heart, obviously. The boys are not too cool with the gun, and even make reference to the uniform not being cool as well.
Before the scene goes any farther, man, what is this gun thing?
Well, now, just a minute. We gotta have the gun. After all, it's a prop.
That's horrible, Put man. that away. It's bad enough that you're with a uniform. And all the guns on television and everything? Bad enough we have a tuning fork.
Like they're trying to point out, like, this is inappropriate right now. But it's like, dude, you've had guns in like 90% of the episodes. And now in like 5 from the end, you're like, wait a minute, this isn't cool.
Uh-huh.
So Baron shows up, and the boys get really scared of him for some reason. I don't understand. And then he tells Wolfgang that he told them to get rid of him. And Wolfgang says,
yeah, but you didn't tell them.
And he asks what they want, and they say nothing, and they're all like super scared, and they split super fast. Wolfgang says that they're suspicious, and Baron tells them that it doesn't matter as long as they don't know where the evidence is. Wolfgang asks where it is, and Baron says to follow him, and they march over to 2 stacks of tires, and they take the top one off, revealing Crumpets and Mickey's heads. So they're trapped within these tires. Wolfgang says that they should try to trade them to the Yankees and get Werner back, or something like that. And Mickey says,
No, not a chance. Yankees haven't made a good trade since they won the pennant in '64.
And then they put the tires back to cover them up. And Baron says that they will not trade them to anyone, but keep them as long as they'll be useful to them. And when the race begins, they no longer need them. They'll be disposed of. Ooh, vicious. So Mike, Davy, and Peter are beside the car, and it's ready to go, but they don't have anyone to drive it. And Davy says that he's a British subject, so maybe the racing committee will let him drive the car. I don't understand what that has to do with anything, because apparently Mickey was supposed to drive the car. So, whatever. So the boys, we cut to the boys talking to a hockey referee who's apparently moonlighting as a racing committee member. This is Don Kennedy. And he says that it's all right with him, but one thing.
I don't think he'll be able to see over the wheel.
And it seems like this entire scene was just for that joke.
Just for yet another Davy short joke.
Yeah. So back at Crumpet's garage, Davy's in the driver's seat, and Mike asks how he feels, and he says that he feels a little high. So Mike grabs the phone book that's underneath Davy and takes out a big chunk of pages and puts it back, and Davy's ready to go. At the Nazi garage, Baron is freaking out at Mickey and says that he ruined the engine, and Mickey says no. Anything he can take apart, he can put back together. And then he asks for a needle and thread, or any glue, or clay, a Band-Aid, spit on his finger. So he's got nothing. So Wolfgang is looking through the periscope and calls Baron over. And Baron sees that Davy's driving the car and he gets mad. But Crumpet starts to make noise and Wolfgang says that he's been gagged for so long he can't breathe. And Baron says he can't stand that racket and orders Wolfgang to take off the gag. Crumpet tells Baron that he's never going to get away with this. And Baron says,
The first words out of your mouth and they're nasty. Gag him again.
So Mickey, who's now tied up again somehow, he says to Crumpets, well, you sure got a lousy part, which is so true.
Oh, man.
He's got a gag in his mouth half the time. He's stuck in tires. He's tied to a chair. He's got nothing. And so Baron's trying to think of a way to get the car running. And a quick cut to Davy driving.
Curse you, Red Baron!
And then cut back to Baron. Shortest scene in the world. And Baron asked Wolfgang what they should do. And he said he's going to use a public address system to call the Monkees to them, and then they'll steal the engine. And then the Baron loves that idea, and he says he's going to do the announcement himself because they'll recognize Wolfgang from his accent. So Peter and Mike are polishing the car, and Baron calls them to the media stand or something like that. And so they take off, and Baron and Wolfgang come into the garage, and Baron hops into the car. So Mike and Peter come back, and the car is missing.
It's gone!
So it's like a few scenes right there in the same place, just like people leaving, people coming back, that kind of thing. So at the Nazi garage, Baron and Wolfgang take out the engine, and Wolfgang says that they're the best mechanics in the world. Crumpet says that they're putting the engine in backwards, and Baron tells Wolfgang to gag him again.
You flew all the way to Hollywood for this part?
Oh, man.
But for real.
By the way, I think we've set a record for the number of times the phrase Nazi garage has appeared in anything.
I really hope you're right. So the referee then tells Peter and Mike that he can't let them race without a car. And Davy says that he's a really fast runner. And the referee says that they need a car to race. And Davy says that they have a car, the Monkey Mobile. Like, of course, the Monkey Mobile.
Dude, of course.
So when they leave, Mike says,
See you later, shotgun.
and I just love when Mike calls people shotgun. I think it's, I try to work it into myself in my own life, and it just doesn't work right.
Nah.
I'm still doing it, though. Still trying.
Attaboy.
So Baron tells Wolfgang to shoot one of the dudes when the starting gun goes off. And after the race, when everybody's cheering, he can shoot the other one because no one will hear it.
Man, oh, man.
So Baron says in 20 minutes, the Klutzmobile will be the most famous car in history. It's a pretty quick race, a little 20-minute race. And so he gets in the car and tries to start it, but it won't start. And Baron asks Wolfgang for a push. So now we're on the track, and the drivers are told to get into the starting grid. Mike tells Davy that while he's on the track, Peter and him will go looking for Crumpets and Mickey. And Davy asks where all the other contestants are. And Baron tells him that there are no other contestants because they've all been sabotaged. Yikes.
Oh, my.
Then a girl in a black and white checkered skirt walks by, and the referee rips the skirt off her to use as a flag. And this is Valerie Karras, a big Monkees extra. She's been around a lot. I think we've talked about her before.
Oh, yeah.
So in the Nazi garage, Wolfgang is counting down, but Mickey keeps messing him up.
10, 9.
No, wait, no. 10, after 10 comes 11.
9.
Not 9. That's 99. No, 10, 11.
All right. 10, 11, 4, 3, 2.
Wolfgang is about to shoot Crumpets. Mike and Peter burst in, and they chase Wolfgang around in the most half-handed, like, lame chase in the world. No one's into it, except for maybe Wolfgang. I think he's trying to get another call to some other NBC series.
Yeah, for sure.
So at the track, the referee waves the flag and his pants fall down, and the two cars zoom off. We got footage of the Monkey Mobile in action, and it's awesome. Just the Monkey Mobile is always awesome. And the two cars race around the Hollywood Hills, and like the Monkey Mobile's in the lead with the Barons close behind. Then they're neck and neck. Baron takes the lead, and then Baron throws a newspaper out, and it gets stuck on the Monkey Mobile windshield. And then Davy nearly goes over a cliff, but he stops in time, escapes that. Then the Baron throws a tire out of the car. Davy narrowly misses it, but the tire rolls down the hill, and then the track like hairpins back. And then so the tire gets in the way of Baron, who swerves and hits a tree. And then the Monkey Mobile pulls into the winner's circle, and Davy won the race. Right?
Amazing.
Which leads us to Monkees Romp, right? But did you also think the Monkees Romp was going to have the race footage involved with it? It kind of...
Right? Yeah.
They kind of seem like that's what they do when they have to show this kind of thing going on. It's during a romp. So
yeah,
but they had like spy music playing, like James Bond, Austin Powers kind of spy music. So for the Monkees Romp, we've got "What Am I Doing Hanging Round?" Great tune.
Solid tune.
So we see Peter and Mike are dancing around, tied up Crumpets and Mickey. Davy's driving and reading the paper that hit him in the face. Then Davy's walking around with like a hubcap as a steering wheel, pretending to drive. Wolfgang holds up a sign that says stop, and then Peter shows up with a sign that says go. The boys chase each other around. Crumpets asks Peter to untie him, and he does, but then Peter ends up getting tied up himself. There's a lot of chasing and dancing. Mike and Peter yawning. That tells you a lot right there. Baron Wolfgang goose stepping, and Peter and Davy give the Nazi salute again. Not cool.
Not cool, boys.
Craziness. And then they all start to dance around. Obviously, after you throw up a Nazi salute, you got to dance around. Davy and Peter take off the Baron and Wolfgang's hats, and they give them love beads instead. Slow motion of them throwing flowers around. Davy getting kissed after the race. Bob Rafelson shows up, and then we get the classic title card. It says, "World's Oldest Flower Child." And Davy getting smothered by birds kissing him. And then there's a shot of Rafelson eating the flowers. Like everybody's throwing flowers around, but Rafelson's eating them. And Mike is just looking at him and grinning. Like, look at this freaking guy. It's almost like Rafelson got super effed up and they convinced him to come on camera for something. And then he's just being an effed up goofball.
Yep.
And then that's the end. That's the end of the episode. Yep. We end on the romp. And so that is Monkees race on.
Little thing where they're like, "Oh, thanks, Davey, for racing the race." Nothing, just won the race, do a tune, credits, let's go home.
Yeah, and it's funny because the episode's called "The Monkees Race Again," but I don't know when they've raced before.
Well, remember they raced in was it the Texas one, like motorbikes and stuff?
Oh,
where they stayed at that hotel where the guy who plays Mr. Babbitt was working.
Oh yeah,
they were racing in that, so they were racing again. And didn't Davy have to race?
There's the horse race.
The horse race one.
Yeah.
See, there's been a few races.
I guess.
So the tone of the title is like the Monkees race again.
Yeah. And I wonder why it got an AKA of "Leave the Driving to Us." Like I know the slogan.
AKA the Nazi Garage.
Yeah, AKA phoned in. So that's your episode right there. That's the whole thing. So overall thoughts, I gotta say, this one felt very loose, and not like in the fun Monkees loose, like in like about racing and spies and Nazis, and it just felt like
feels half baked. Whatever costumes were around, let's make something out of this, and I agree. The boys are like, they're just visibly like not super into it.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm now wondering how these next few episodes are going to play out. Like, I always remember like near the end of the series, there were duds like this, but I'm wondering how dudley they are going to the very end.
Yeah.
I know we got some cool parts coming up, but I'm just wondering. So anyways, down to the categories. Guns, you better believe it.
Darn right.
Darn tootin'. Highlight of the show for me, it's not a specific moment, but it's like the Peter and Mike were together a lot in this episode, and that's not something you see a lot, just the two of them.
That's a good point.
So that's what I liked.
I just like having the Monkey Mobile around because, as you've mentioned, like, don't see it much, especially this season.
Yeah. No, that's a good point too. Yeah. It's nice that it wasn't just like, it was like an integral part of the episode as well.
Yeah.
It saved the day.
It's not immediate. Well, remember, I think we talked about it first season. Usually the Monkey Mobile is in pieces, and that's the problem.
Yeah, true enough. And yeah, for such a broke band, they've got such a sweet pad and such a sweet ride.
Fly ride, man.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so was there a Monkees ruse? Mainly in the way they made Crumpets think that they knew how to fix cars.
They're rusing themselves.
Yeah. I think that was it, I guess. A bunch of fourth wall breaks. All of the they're gones, it's gones. Yes. This music is driving me crazy when Baron says it. When Mickey says when the chips are down and does his little speech, he's looking right at the camera.
Yep.
And all the things, Mickey making references to Crumpet's part sucking. That's there's only one musical moment. What am I doing hanging around?
Yep.
So that's the best one. Classic Monkees moments. The boys get scared by the butler.
The monkey scare. Gotta have one of those here and there.
Yep. The standing on my foot gag runs itself into the ground in this episode. All of the they're gones, the it's gones.
Yeah.
Got that kind of stuff. I guess we could even say like pausing it and then having words superimposed up. That's a way throwback because they just stopped doing that. Man, that's a royal flush. That goes back to the first episode ever that we saw.
So like we talked about all the monkey elements in the last episode. It's true there was, and there are a lot of monkey elements in this episode. But that's the monkey elements do not necessarily make a good monkey episode.
No, exactly. Yeah, just because they're there doesn't mean you're stoked about it.
Yeah.
What wouldn't fly in 2022? Definitely the Nazi stuff. I think there is a lot of Nazi references that I don't think would fly. Like,
yeah, it would be like a non-specific, made-up, like Sokovia type country.
Yeah.
Not, like, remember Mighty Ducks when the bad guy was Iceland?
Yeah.
Like, they picked like a less controversial place.
Yeah, exactly. Iceland, they're known for really mixing it up.
Rocky 4, that ain't.
No, that's Rocky 6. It's over, Rock. Would it be back? The Rocky series, please stop it.
Ain't a sequel on Earth gonna save you now.
So, slide to the Did You Knows. The Klutzmobile was one of 6 Shelby Cobra Daytona coupes. There's only 6 made in the world. And if you have seen the movie Ford versus Ferrari, this is that car that was made to beat Ferrari in the 64-65 World Sports Car Championships.
Come on.
And it's crazy. They got one of them to be in this episode to play a piece of garbage.
Wow.
Amazing. Oh, the most recent one that was sold, it was in 2015 for $7.25 million. So.
Dang.
And that's not because of the car it was because it was in this episode. That's why it was a piece of monkey memorabilia.
Get it out of town.
Another funny thing is Mickey actually worked as a mechanic between acting jobs in his real life prior to coming on to the Monkees.
Come on.
Craziness.
Did you know that a few days before they started shooting, Davy Jones quietly got married?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So there's that, and this was the last complete Monkees episode produced.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes. So like really ending with like a kind of a whimper.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't know it was going to be the last one. Maybe there was some that sort of like got half-assed did. Mm-hmm. And maybe just the show itself kind of, no pun intended, petered out.
Maybe they kind of were phoning it in because they didn't want to do a good job because they didn't want to do more episodes.
I don't know if they'd intentionally shoot themselves in the foot like that. But it's interesting because the vibe is like, man, we're doing the music thing now, and then we got this goofy show. Let's get rid of the goofy show, but
Yeah.
like we've addressed that the show is what made them special, and that was their advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
They could promote the songs and present them right to the people. Smiles on their faces. Not every band got to do that. And without the show, they were just another band.
Yeah, but also it could have also been how the show was also the thing keeping them from being taken as legitimate musicians, which is what they wanted to do. So we've got to distance ourselves, which is what Head was, right? Head was
Pretty
the
much,
chop,
yeah.
or tried to be. So William Glover, who played Crumpets, he has 55 credits. He's done a lot of TV. Some of the notables, I guess, Star Trek Next Generation. He was on an episode of Dear John, if you remember Dear John. And he was in an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Wow.
Yeah.
Making the rounds on the old NBC.
Stubby K, who played Wolfgang, he has 46 credits. And for me, the thing I know most was he plays Marvin Acme in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, wild.
Yeah, so
That's awesome.
he got to play Patty Cake with Jessica Rabbit, so I am jealous. David Hurst was the Baron, 67 credits, a lot of TV one parts, like Charlie's Angels, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., original Star Trek. Maurice Dallimore, the Butler, 48 credits. Again, Bewitched, Batman, I Dream of Jeannie, bunch of one parts on television series. Valerie Karras, who played the Checkered Skirt Girl, has 7 credits to her name, but 14 episodes of the Monkees she's in. And I don't know if
That's more than Monty even, isn't it?
I think so, definitely. And I don't know if we addressed this before, but in Head, she plays like the girl who's going to jump. Like, I'm going to do it. That's
her?
That's Valerie Karras. Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild.
And then at the next scene where Mike's holding her and they're giving money because they're betting on if she jumped or not. And she played Kitty on the Batman series. Yeah. And she did not act between 1971 and 2013.
What the heck?
Yeah. And what she did do is like a couple little short films and stuff in the 21st century. So yeah,
All right.
That's her. Okay, and Don Kennedy, who played the referee / race car guy, whatever he was, he has 114 credits to his name, which is crazy. And again, though, a lot of like Littlest Hobo, Bonanza, McHale's Navy.
Is he always a ref, occasionally umpire?
Yeah, yeah. He plays Paul the policeman in Monkees a la carte from the first season.
Oh, yeah.
So there you
the
go.
referee of the streets.
Yeah, exactly.
Policeman.
Yes. And the last thing he worked in was Messenger of Death in 1988. So there you have it. That's crazy. And yeah, and that is The Monkees Race Again, a.k.a. Leave the Driving to Us, a.k.a. We're Phoning It In, a.k.a. Nazi Garage.
Wonderful.
Crazy. And whoop, I hear something in the distance. I don't think that's the monkey mobile roaring. It's time for everybody's favorite second half of the episode, the Randomatic Countdown featuring the Wool Hat of Mystery.
You said it once again, Paco. And man, we are getting down to the hat's getting light, isn't it?
It is. We actually have to change things up because we have 9 songs left in the hat. We've got 6 episodes, including today, to go through. We've got a couple specials coming in, like special hat polls coming in, plus some special episodes. But so what we're going to have to do today is we're not pulling 3 songs. We're pulling 2 songs. So we get one
Sorry,
each.
folks.
And
I'll give you a third of your money back on the way out.
yeah, sorry about that. I was going to say we planned this wrong, but we really didn't. There's no other way to really plan it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
If we had only done 2 an episode, we'd have like 40 songs left.
Too many songs.
So today we're pulling 10. So I think I go first this time.
Yes, I believe you are correct.
What do we have today? We have, favorite of yours, Shorty Blackwell.
Oh, finally.
I'm feeling very bad today. A red balloon got in my way. It followed me around, but never touched the ground. What can I say?
Okay, Shorty Blackwell from Instant Replay. See, now, it's almost 6 minutes long. It's 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
It's got to be the longest song of the classic era, and maybe out of all the Monkees songs.
But the thing is, the first half I really dig. Like, it's very different. It's got some cool sounds. It's got cool melodies. And I do enjoy the first half of it quite a bit. Then it goes into that piano part, and then after that, it never quite finds its way back.
It's spectacular. Like, it's really indicates, like, just because you have complete creative freedom and you have access to, like, big bands, like, there are horn players and stuff. Like,
oh yeah,
people were put to work on this.
It's a production.
Yeah, and just because you have complete artistic freedom, maybe you don't use all of it.
Yeah. Again, maybe just for Mickey, it was a cool thing. Like, he got to do this, and he got to have this orchestra and got to do everything with it or whatever. But no, I really like the first half, not so much the second half. And there is another version of it, like an earlier version that's only like 2.5 minutes long.
I'm feeling very bad today. Another cat came in to stay. Wrong one again.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say anything.
Oh, stop me as soon as I goof.
Yeah, he's had this kicking around since, like, Headquarters-ish, maybe.
Yeah. So
and so I think that happens with a number of songs, especially Mickey's. And like the line, "I'm feeling very bad today," I think that might have been the working title for the Instant Replay album, because every song is just bad news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like they're slogged down in something. What an awesome album cover, though. I think it's so cool.
Love the cover, and I love a lot of the songs on this thing.
Same.
But just, it's a downer. And like we've said, none of these songs make it on the show, even in the reruns. And like, where would you put them?
Yeah, exactly. That's why they're not. It's just, can you imagine for this one when they're running around and chasing Nazis? It's like, feeling very bad today. Okay. But as I said, I don't hate this song by any means. I really, really like the first half. So
I remember you having an affinity for it back in the day whenever we got our first, I don't know how we got our first copy of Instant Replay, because this is not on the box set, and I'm not sure you found it on a tape. I don't remember.
I think I found it in one of the re-releases that had like the Monkees cards with them and all that stuff. Like with the clear spine, the yellow clear spine.
Yes. My God, those are beautiful little CDs.
They really are. I remember my friend Phil and I, we went to Toronto with his grandmother's. We were supposed to go see a play, and we got there, and the play was canceled. It just wasn't happening. So we just got to kick around Toronto, and that was like one of the first times I really went to Sam the Record Man.
Yes.
And if you don't know, Sam the Record Man was like a 3-story, like amazing record store in downtown Toronto. The outside had these big, huge like records that spun, like the lights made it look like they were spinning.
Yeah, the neon light vinyl LPs just like 2 stories high.
Yeah,
just
amazing.
The best.
And I had never even heard of these CDs, and they had like almost all of them. So I freaked out, and I got like, which ones did I get? I got Instant Replay. I got Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees.
Okay, yeah.
And I believe Head, and I got Head. Lucky me, downtown Toronto. But
nice work.
But
yeah, I think a couple years before that, I was at Sam's, that one in Toronto, and like those reissues hadn't come out yet. But that's right. Remember, I got the Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees that was like imported from Japan.
Oh yeah.
And, like, you couldn't read any of it, but it had like it cost a few bucks, but it was very cool. And that was like the only CD of Birds and the Bees and the Monkees I had seen at that point.
Yeah, no, it was the greatest record store ever. Unreal. So anyway, I feel I'm going to put this right after If I Ever Get to Saginaw Again, and right above Snowfall at number 87.
Okay. So it's my turn to pick out a tune. This is the secret reason why we're only doing 2 songs, because Shorty Blackwell ate up all the time.
Yeah, pretty much. But okay, reach on in, see what you get.
Pass me that hat, Paco.
There's some jams, but there's some
Let's see what we
jellies.
got. Ooh, don't call on me.
Don't call on me when you're feeling footloose and fancy free.
So yeah, that is Don't Call on Me by the Monkees from Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones, written by Mike Nesmith and John London. And this is actually an older song, like a pre-Monkey song of Mike's. They kind of fixed up and put on the album. And it even mentions on the back of the record that it was recorded at RCA Victor Studios in Hollywood and Chicago. Because Mickey says they're in the pump room high above Chicago. But they're not really at the pump room high above Chicago. It's all.
And now, from the elegant pump room of the magnificent Palmer House high over Chicago, asking that musical question.
That's awesome.
Just audio magic, but
I love how it opens up with all of them like hanging out and chatting. It's almost like they're just like sitting around and somebody picks up some instruments and Mike just starts singing, and it's awesome. Yeah. It's a great song.
And and this just kind of has a complete kind of vibe and a feel to it. Like a lot of the songs on this record compared to Headquarters, it's not just them goofing around the studio. Like this is music. Like you got Eddie Ho, Fast Eddie Ho on the percussion, like he is on much of these songs, and Chip on the bass. And apparently Bob Rafelson plays the piano.
Really?
Yeah.
I read that, Peter Tork does the organ solo.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's all hands on deck.
And so very cool. And I think we're going to see it in one of the last few episodes coming up, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, nice. It is a great little, like a good vibe song to put on. Like Mike's singing perfect. Like the band is radical. The tune is great. Yeah, I really like this song a lot. It's very, very calming.
Yeah, man. And Mike kind of co-wrote this with John London, who he would work with in the First National Band. And and he was like a longtime friend of the Monkees, chipping in on their albums over the years.
Fantastic.
So yeah, this is like a deeper cut on obviously a very important album for the Monkees, most people's favorite. Not necessarily one of their people's favorite tunes, but I like it.
I agree.
And it's one of those tunes, that record, man. It's a two-sider.
Definitely, and it's also a song like. When you first pulled it, I recognized it, but I was like, I can't place it in my mind. And then as soon as it starts, I was like, oh, of course, yes, this song is fantastic. So it's one of those kind of songs.
Yeah, and it appears second last on the album, on side 2, right between Daily, Nightly, and Star Collector. Oof. You got this. So that's kind of a neat little ride out with
that's a great
the different sounds.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, so where do you think you're going to put it here in the Rando-matic countdown?
Great question, cuz you know what? Let's tuck it in between, because it reminds me, because it plays a similar role as Early Morning Blues and Greens. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put it right above Early Morning Blues and Greens. Our new number 75 is Don't Call on Me.
Nice. That's a good spot for it.
All right, and that's a wrap on the hat for this week.
Yeah, it seems so quick. It's very interesting
It does.
doing only 2, but hey, that's the way the wool hat bounces.
I can't believe we're almost at the end of this thing all around. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. I was thinking about like Monkees versus Machine and that stuff, and just how much they change from those episodes, like especially to like this episode.
Yes.
All right, so that was a very interesting episode, I assume, of the podcast and of the Monkey Show itself.
Let's hope.
Yeah, it's everything's different. The show is different. Only 2 songs in the wool hat. It's so crazy, so crazy. But anyway, we hope you all enjoyed it. I had a good time as always.
Likewise, Paco. Likewise.
Excellent. All right, everyone. So from me, Paco.
And me, Jeff.
Have yourselves a Monkees little evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.